Saturday.
Okay, last time I said Sunday, and then somebody was like, it's not. I don't even know what days they are. It's just, I know it's another day.
Right.
So, thank you guys for tuning in at Love, Money, and Game show. And I have two very special guests. I'm so excited. It was honestly not even planned. I was supposed to do one with him, and then I gave him the wrong address.
Give me the wrong address.
And I didn't even get the address.
You didn't even get it?
I didn't get it. I didn't get it.
I'm sorry, I'm such a mess.
I was like, we're going to do a Zoom call, right? She was like, no, come to the address I sent you. I
The
was
one
like,
I sent you, so you never sent
What
me.
address?
you didn't
Yeah.
send me the address.
And I texted her this morning, where is it? Is it in this or this?
Right.
And she sent me the wrong one.
Oh, gosh.
I was looking at an apartment. I'm like, what are you doing there?
I got to her apartment.
Right, see, it's serendipity. It happened for a reason.
I'm like,
And
creeper. I'm like, who's that in the window? Okay.
Yeah.
But thank you guys, for coming. I really appreciate your time because I know you guys are busy doing your thing.
Yeah.
But thank you. And this was like unexpected to we're supposed to do one in the morning with you at 12, one with you at 1. And I'm
Right.
like, you know what? It's just, the universe is so beautiful how it's just like, I think it was meant for
Right.
both of you to do the interview
I agree.
together. Well, this fun chat. That's
Right.
what it is. So I have Juan Diego
Yeah.
with Solar Mission, and I have Chris Coburn. And I was trying to put one of the things that you do, and I'm like, you know what? No, he does many things. We're just gonna
Right.
say Mr. Entrepreneur.
there you go. I like that. That sticks.
He's like, I love it. Like,
Yeah.
perfect. So let's start with you, Chris.
Okay.
Tell us a little bit about where you're from. Like,
Brooklyn,
what's
New
your
York.
ethnicity? Oh, that was quick.
Right away.
Damn.
Right, because I was prepared.
Oh, okay.
Already preparing.
Yeah, my parents are from Jamaica though, so my dad's
Ooh, I love
from
Jamaica.
Kingston, my mom's from St. Catharines, but I was born in
Nice.
Brooklyn, New York. So
Oh, cool.
been here 14 years now.
Wow.
In Orlando. So,
Nice. What made you go change from New York to here? There's a lot of people that it's so hard to make that big change. It's
Right.
totally different.
Right.
Tell us what-
Because I'm from Brooklyn.
Okay,
Well, there was a lot. There was a lot going on, and I'm an open book. And one of the reasons I left was because I lost my older brother.
Okay.
So so it was time to go. My mom said, nah, this isn't good, so we moved to Nashville for a little while, and then I came here. So Brooklyn wasn't somewhere I needed to be anymore.
Okay.
So
Wow.
don't mean to get all somber and stuff, but I gotta be honest.
No, I always love to hear, why people, change and transition, and I love, when we say why we move, because I
Right.
think there's a lot of people I know at one point years ago that I wanted to move to New York, and I think a lot of people when they want to make that change and they're so scared when they hear somebody else say, well, I just went for it, I just
Right.
did it, and look where I'm at. I'm actually,
Right.
doing great. So thank you for sharing that.
Of course.
So let's talk a little bit more deep in, you're from Jamaica.
Yes.
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 Sazon. Now, let me tell you a little story of Jamaica. So I went on a cruise. Oh man, I forgot where we went. It was a touristic place. And then after we were done, it was beautiful. It was cascada, ¿cómo se dice eso? Waterfall.
Dunn's River Falls.
Yes.
Yeah, Dunn's River Falls. That's the
oh
famous
my
one.
God, the most amazing experience ever. I had so much fun. And then after that, they give you lunch. Mind you, I love spice.
Right.
Because I'm Latina, I already love spice.
Right.
So
Yeah.
what they gave us is this jerk spicy chicken. I absolutely loved it. And a lot of people were like, whoa.
Yeah,
I didn't expect
It's
it.
good.
But it was so good. The people were awesome. We also had Jamaican beer. But let me stop talking about it because I'm not from there.
Red
Tell
Stripe.
me a little bit. Yes, Red Stripe.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. So
Right.
tell me a little bit about your culture. What do you know about it?
What tribe?
What tribe? I shouldn't have said anything.
I mean,
caught you off guard.
it's easygoing is really what it is, and everyone there is loving. That's the culture that we come from.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard work. They say Jamaicans have like 1 million jobs.
Mm-hmm.
It's true. That's
That's
me.
why I said Mr. I'm like,
So
kind of
super
rich
hard
already.
working, up early, up late. It's just that's who we are. It's really straightforward. What you see is what you get.
Awesome. Do you know anything else about I don't know, your ancestors?
I do know that
Why?
he prepared me for that question
That's not
already.
even fair.
But no, I
that's
do know
funny.
that the last name Coburn does come from like Scotland or something like that.
Really?
Yeah, and they went to Jamaica and
Wow,
then they went
it's
to
cultish.
England, and it was. That's about all I know. That's really it. So
Okay.
I don't know too much.
That is interesting.
Yeah, I thought so too. I'm like,
I'm
Scotch?
definitely gonna have you on the next show. Be prepared, because come
Right.
with a little bit more of that
I
history.
got you.
wanna
I
hear
got
it.
you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
do my research.
Yes.
Googles.
Interesting. So let's go with you, Juan Diego. Tell me a little bit about where you're from. And I know
Yeah.
we spoke last time about it, but I'm sure you came a little bit more prepared.
No. I'm from Colombia, from Bogota.
Woohoo!
You know, the culture over there is amazing. It's loving people. You know, everybody that goes there, they say the danger, and they actually did a campaign because there was a time where people thought it was very dangerous to
Right.
go.
Yeah.
And the campaign was the only risk that you have going to Colombia is you want to stay.
Right.
Mhm.
And,
You're right.
and it's true, like over there, everything for me, you know, it's beautiful. The
Right.
people especially, they make you feel so good.
Mhm.
You know, they make you feel
So
welcome.
Merced,
Su merced, yeah.
I was telling him that in 2015 I had the privilege to go,
Yeah.
and I actually stayed there for 4 months. I was gonna stay.
Wow.
I loved it. Yeah,
Wow,
that's
yeah.
that's the danger.
Right.
That's
You
the
go,
danger.
That's what I've
and
heard
it's like
too.
you're
I've
sucked
heard
in. And I only went to Bogota, so I didn't get a privilege, which I that's my bucket list, to go to Cali, and
Medellin.
Medellin.
Right.
But everybody was so nice, and I was so appalled by, like, they were saying su merced, which
Yeah.
in English, if you want to translate, says like kind of like royalty. So yes, not even your honor.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, kind of.
And
It's like,
so merced is like yes, like Lord or
Like your
master.
highness,
I don't know,
your
like, oh
highness.
wow, I feel like wherever I go.
yeah, they make you feel
You
super
were so
good.
polite.
Yeah. No, it's amazing. Like
Yeah.
that's one of the things that I miss from there. You know, the culture, the unity.
Right.
Here is a little more like you know,
Yes.
everybody on their own thing.
Yes.
Over there in Colombia, it's just, you know, it's everybody like this. You go on the street, everybody's happy,
They're very helpful
and
too.
you know, yeah, even
Very
even
nice.
if maybe they're not in the best situation
Right.
financially or whatever, they, you know, most people are happy. They say it's one of the happiest countries in the world.
Right.
So
Right.
you know,
Nice. Well,
that's a
thank
little bit
you.
about our culture. Where do we come from?
Your homework. Next time you're gonna
You-
tell
you
me a little
know
bit about your
what?
tribe.
Our tribe.
I want to hear
Bandinges.
it.
Yeah.
You know why I asked that? I just think it's so awesome, because this is what the show is about. It's like we're all, you know, we're all one tribe.
Yeah.
We're all one energy, you know. And the reason why I say one tribe is because I was looking at and researching. I love history. So when I was looking, I'm like, wow, it's just so crazy. Like all of us, and I traveled to many different places. I went to Colombia. I've been to Panama, Costa Rica, of course, Nicaragua, because that's where I'm from.
Yeah.
And then, you know, privilege of the cruise. So I've had
Right.
a little bit of, you know, a taste of Jamaica, which I want to go back
Right.
and, like, you know, see a little bit more. But when we really, really look back, like, to our tribe, which I think some countries still do, like in the Amazon, there's still some tribes there
Yeah.
in my
Right.
country as well.
Untouched.
Yes, and it's beautiful. Like, it's just how we all pretty much come from one.
Right.
Because we all pretty much migrated at some point because
Right.
of whatever reason. We had to, you know, just travel to a different place and they just stay there now.
Right.
But we all really just are one. So it's just beautiful. But
Yeah,
that's why I always love to ask about.
I
what you
noticed
know
that
about
when I
your
went
tribe.
to I took a cruise for 7 days, and every country I went to, people pretty much looked the same. It was
Yeah.
weird. Like I went
Yeah.
to Honduras, I went to all these different places.
Yes,
It was
yes.
just, it was like you felt like everyone was just the same. You
Yeah.
were just on a different part of the same planet, which is what
Mhm.
it was.
Yeah.
It was just a weird experience, but it was good.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
Nice. Cool. So, you know, so the topics about this show, it's about, I think it's so, you can elaborate it so much. You know, it's love, money, and game. So I'm gonna ask you, Chris, what does love mean to you in your life, in your journey? Like, when did you find that passion for what you're doing,
Okay.
which is a lot of different things.
Right.
So I think we were speaking about, I asked him, and I said, have you worked for corporate? So tell me a little bit about that. How did you find, from when you started doing,
I'm thinking about it already. Right. Right.
what, you know, where you started working, how did you find your passion? How did you find, like, I'm an entrepreneur, I can
Right.
do all these different things, you know, have these different legs.
Right.
So tell us about that, because that's what love is. Like, how do you find your passion?
All right. So just remember, you asked. So, so
Oh.
I remember working when I moved to Orlando, I worked for 𝐄𝐩𝐢𝐬𝐬 of Orlando. And my boss at the time, Gary, I got into some trouble because I would always like leave in the middle of the day. And he told me, he said, well, you can't leave anymore without coming in, checking in with me. And I said, no.
Why were you leaving? Where'd you go?
Just because it's
time to leave.
selling cars. You're there like 22 hours of the day. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So I would just get up and go. And he said, you're being paid to be here. You need to be here.
Yeah.
And me being 21 years old, I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. And I just kept leaving.
Yeah.
And his wife, because they wouldn't fire me, his wife, Pam, still one of my best friends to this day, she noticed that I was just bored.
Yeah.
So she brought me on in her real estate company and taught me how to do loan modifications and negotiate short sales. And I'm 21, 22 at this point.
Wow.
She gives me my own office in Altamont, and we just became like family. And she basically told him to leave me alone. Like, he's just bored, he doesn't want to be there. And eventually I left and went to Westgate.
Okay.
And I was at Westgate, and although it's corporate, it's not. And people that worked at Westgate know exactly what I mean. So I got there, but what made me become an entrepreneur is that when I was working at Westgate, I was doing great. I got let go in 2008 because of the financial crisis.
Yeah.
I think I was doing well. I should have never been fired, but I was on salary, and they told me you need to get your license, and I just wouldn't, because I'm like, they're paying me so much money. Why would I go in that time so much money? Why would I go get a license when I'm working 5 hours a day, making over $60,000 a year?
What would that difference make? Yeah.
Well, instead of making 60 for the year, I probably would have made like 130.
Yeah, if you had the license, it would have doubled.
Yeah, it was but I wasn't thinking. I was
While
young.
you're talking, I'm sorry, give me a second, I have to open the door.
Yeah, no problem.
Continue.
So I was young, I didn't know any better.
Yeah.
And they kept telling me, get your license, and I wouldn't, and then they let me go, but then they brought me back at a lower salary.
Oh, wow.
And then I kept selling, then they fired me again, just to bring me back again at a lower salary. So what they kept doing was letting me go and bringing me back at a lower salary to see what I would accept.
Yeah.
And I just said, screw it, and I just quit and said, I'm never going back there ever again. And I started selling copies. I don't know if the statute of limitations have run out, but I started selling copies of Rosetta Stone, the Spanish version, to the English-speaking reps, because everyone knew you can make more money on the Spanish line. So I'm like, why are you gonna just be with the English folks when you can go to the Spanish line and make a bunch of money? Here's a copy of Rosetta Stone. And that was pretty much it. And then after leaving Westgate, I realized I just like helping people. And that's when I started getting into modifications, credit repair, et cetera, et cetera. Just anything I could do to help is just what I gravitated towards.
Nice.
So,
Awesome.
So then, what I got from that is that you found your passion through well, before I say that, do you think you knew what you wanted to do? I always ask this, meaning like, did you see yourself like when you were a little kid, or when, find that's, because when you find your passion, it's really because you've always had it along, the way. Meaning like when you're a kid, did you always find yourself helping and what you're doing now, and it's like, you've always really had it.
Yes and no. When I was a child, I wanted to be a cardiologist.
Well,
really?
Yeah. Not many people know that. I wanted to be a cardiologist. Then I realized I didn't want to see open hearts and stuff, so I was like, let me stop that. But to me, going to school to be a cardiologist and getting $200,000-$300,000 worth of debt didn't make much sense.
No.
Because the way that I saw it, if you have 10 people that graduate college and they all have a 4.0 and they're all doctors, but a town only has 5 spaces for doctors, the other 5 have to go to a different town. Now, that other town still only has 10 spaces and there are 15 doctors. Another 5 have to go to. So you're never going to, you can look and find a $100 bill on the floor and pick it up, but you're not going to pick up a penny because they're abundant. So everyone that has 4.0s, that have degrees to be doctors, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, now it's different because obviously there's no shortage, but the point was, why would I go and get a degree in doing this when it may not be guaranteed I'll actually be able to find a job, pay off these hundreds of thousands?
You're always a thinker.
It didn't make any sense to me, even back then.
It was good analysis, though.
Yeah, it was just, in my mind, it just didn't make sense. So it wasn't...
How old were you at that time?
19.
Wow.
Yeah, so in my mind, I said to myself, if you can figure out a way to make money without having the debt, then that would be ideal. Because they sell you a dream of follow your passion. I'm not saying don't follow your passion, but what you need to do is find something that's going to allow you to make enough money to where your passion becomes a hobby.
Yeah.
Because if all you want to do is paint all day, you can't go to school to get an art degree. I mean, you can, but you're not going to find a job.
Yeah.
But if you go and you do something like a commission-based job and you make a bunch of money, take the weekends to go paint some canvases.
Yeah.
So it wasn't anything that made me say, this is what I want to do. I'm going to just do this. It was more of I like to relax sometimes and just watch TV. What's going to allow me to do that?
Okay.
And that's what I pursued.
What's going to allow you to do that, but also that you like.
Right, of course.
So I think, always that passion and love of what you like. And that's important because a lot of people are. Like, I remember I was in the hospital. I love them. They became family because I literally worked in the hospital since high school.
Right.
And the same department. So I grew there and I loved it. But I got to a point when I had like my little pen, 10 years. I said, I always, and when I worked at the hospital, I always did marketing on the side.
Right.
So I always felt that I always liked helping people, but in a different way. Because I was at the hospital, I was a medical biller. That was the last position I had, and that's helping, finding, the right insurance for the clients. But I just like to be outdoor. So pretty much, like you said, finding something that that's gonna bring, like, you're giving and you're receiving.
Right.
I think that's what the universal love means. Right? Receiving and giving, and how you can kind of put that together while you love what you're doing.
Right.
Right? So tell us about you. Like, how did you find your passion and what you're doing, that love?
Yeah. I mean, since I was little, I didn't know what I wanted to be. I know I wanted to be, like, wealthy, that's for sure.
Right, of course.
I had no idea. Like, honestly, when I was 17 years old, I did the last year of high school here.
Right.
And, the dream of my parents was for me to get like a really good corporate job.
Right.
Because they saw the potential I had. So they're like, I want you to go back to the U.S. I was in Colombia at that time, graduate, I was supposed to go to Wharton Business School, learn, and then at 17 years old, I read a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Oh, right there. Yes.
Right before.
That changed my life too. Yeah.
I read that one 5 years ago. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I'm like, I read that book. I was living by myself here. Quick parentheses. In Colombia, I was always a leader, but not always like a positive leader.
Right.
So, remember, there was a point where my parents didn't give me money because I was doing things I shouldn't do. And I'm like, all right, that's fine. I sold my old clothes, more expensive than what I bought it new.
Right.
Like literally hustling. I started selling sandwiches in the school, and I created like an empire. Got the 2 most popular of every course to sell for me.
Right.
How old were you at the time? That was
I was like 14, 15.
That's so interesting.
I was like 14, 15. I've always had that mindset. Yeah. Because I saw it on my parents. Right. And it was always like something that passioned me. Like, how can I accumulate wealth? How can I accumulate wealth? And so, long story short, I in Colombia, I made some mistakes, which aren't bad, but I knew that if I still was in that environment, I wasn't going to be able to change. Right. So I came here by myself, 17 years old, and then, supposedly I was going to go to Wharton.
That's crazy.
Read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I'm like, wow. This changed my perspective 180 degrees. Right. What do I do? And so, at that time, I was starting a business, and I told my parents, hey, give me 6 months. Right, I'm gonna get financially stable. Right, and when I'm financially stable, I'll go to the university. Right,
never. Yeah, to have the opportunity to go to Wharton and then not do it, that's big.
I mean, I was at a point where 6 months later, I had worked so hard, and I hadn't made the money that I wanted to make, and I was frustrated, and I got into a black hole, whatever it may be, because I'm like, fuck, man, I'm working hard because I've always worked hard, like literally 17, 18 hours a day. Right. Totally distanced myself socially because I was focused. Right. And 6 months later, I'm in debt. Right. Like, I'm not even making money. I have to call my parents to get me money.
And you were by yourself. One thing that I want to pause there that's so crazy. Like, he was 17 years old. Right. Yeah. Like, even like if he had like the biggest support, like that's Colombia, which is all the other side, South America, and then here, United States, by himself. So I love that you're sharing that because I'm sure there's other people that like, I'm too young, I can't take too many risks. Yeah. So you took a huge risk. It wasn't from here to, let's say, Kissimmee, Orlando. It was like miles and miles away. So wow.
Always the turning points in my life have been when I take those hard decisions that my intuition tells me that I need to. Right. and I follow my
So
gut.
you just follow it,
I
you're like, I'm
follow
gonna
it.
do it,
Right.
and it's just like,
I get an instinct,
Gone.
I feel it, and if I feel it constantly,
Right.
this is God.
Right.
I gotta do it.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's literally what happened when I was 17 years old. I'm like, you know, I gotta get myself out of this environment. You know, environment is more powerful than will.
Of course.
So even if I wanted to do a lot of things, if the people around me
Right.
were
That is-
pulling me down,
Right.
Yep.
I wasn't gonna be able to do it.
Yeah.
I like that you said that because that was my next question. Like, what obstacles have you guys went through, and what things have changed? I know in my life I've had to, and I've always been told this, and I'm like, I love like being around people, and I want
Right.
everybody to love me, but I learned that my circle got smaller and smaller,
Right.
and now it's not even a circle. I don't know what it is. But
Dot.
it's a dot. I love it. It's a dot. Yes.
Yeah.
So now that you touched that, you know, that topic, let's talk
Yeah.
about that. So you had to change, you know, how did you know there was the right atmosphere? Were you in the wrong one? And then you just had to, like, you know, change and say those weren't the right people. That's not, you know, talk about that a little
Well, the first thing is you gotta define where you wanna go,
Right.
bit. Okay.
right? If you don't know where you're gonna go, then you don't know what steps you gotta take. And the next question is, the people around me, are they gonna help me get there, or are they gonna not?
Right.
And so at that point at 17, I came here, 18 years old, started a business, went back to Colombia to open the business, and started doing very well. I mean, the first obstacle that I had to face was the criticism of my family.
Right.
You know, they love me, but
Get a real job.
they come from from another mindset, so I don't judge them.
Right.
But at the same time, I wasn't gonna let their opinion.
I think that's the majority of the family. It's mostly
Yeah.
like
Right.
what
It's
the
because they love you.
corporate
Look,
world
it's
says.
because they love you.
Yeah, they
Right.
It's
don't
not
mean
because they
ba-
want
they
something
don't
bad
mean
for you.
bad.
They love you.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, but what if this doesn't work?
Right.
Why don't
Right.
you maybe do this on the side?
Like
And
the right thing is get the degree, get the job
Right.
that you need to do. I know
Right.
that was
Yeah.
something in my family as well, because not everybody in my family like got to that, you know, getting degree and
Right.
stuff like that. So
Yeah.
it's like you got to do the right thing, and it's scary because you're like, I know, but like I want to do this. And
Right.
This is what I'm passionate. I know I can do it.
Right.
yeah.
So,
So
Glad you said
I
that.
think that was the first thing, you know, when I was getting started. And since you don't have results to back it up, it's harder,
Right.
right? Because
You're just going
you,
with
you
your
have
gut
it in your
feeling.
mind. Yeah,
Right.
you have it in your mind and in your
Yeah.
heart, but they don't see it,
Right.
and they don't see
Right.
what you see.
Right.
and they don't see it, and I want to touch a little bit more about that, and then, you know, I want you to talk about a little bit about your obstacles and how you had to change your circle too, just like, you know, him. That they don't see it, and what I learned is that, and you will feel bad. I don't know. At some point, I felt bad, like, oh, like I felt like I had to kind of like please, you know, okay, maybe they're right, maybe this. But at the end, I learned, and I don't know. I think it's from mentors, listening to her, like a voice. It's like, it's not their dream.
Right.
Of course, they're not gonna understand it because it's not their dream, it's not their vision, so it's okay.
Yeah, like I never thought they were right,
Right.
honestly.
Okay.
And
did.
one time,
it was hard.
one time when literally like my grandma and my aunt, they were like, both of them saying, hey, but I'm like, look, you guys already lived, let me live.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know?
No. Yeah.
Let
They
me
try to
live.
stage an intervention.
Let me live, you know, let me live, let me make mistakes.
good, that's
let
good.
me do what I gotta do. And now it's different.
Right.
But you know what's the crazy part? That wasn't the hardest thing to overcome. Like that was just, you know, letting them clear that if they're gonna support me or I
Let me
respect their
go.
position, but you know, that's fine.
Mhm.
The hardest part was that when I made it in Colombia, I lost it all.
Right.
Ooh.
One thing is building,
I've been there.
another
Right.
thing is rebuilding.
Years
Right.
ago.
So I was 21 years old, at the top of the world, you can say.
Right.
You know, I had 1,200 distributors
Right.
in Colombia, Mexico, that followed me. You know, it was crazy, crazy,
Right,
crazy,
right.
crazy. And then boom, back to zero.
How did you lost it all though? Was it a risk that you took and it's just, it happens? Because I know that a lot of people has been through it. I went
Yeah.
through it 5
I
years
went
ago,
through it.
2015. I lost everything for a risk that I took. Bad decision, but it was a risk.
Yeah.
And that's when I went to Colombia, when you know, taking the risk. But like, what happened? What is it? Is it a business that you didn't go well?
Yeah.
Just so some of the viewers that has gone through
Right.
that, you know, can kind of say, hey, I'm going through that. Like, what did you do, or what was it?
Yeah, it was a business that I was striving. You know, we were doing a lot of sales, and then we had problems importing the product. And then after that, you know, I started investing in. I opened up shops like gym shops
Right.
where you drink the protein after you
Right.
do your workout. And I
Right.
opened up 5 because I remember it was like let's say a LA Fitness, and there was 5 in Bogota.
Right.
And so, you know, my parents told me, hey, open one. Start
Right.
with one, and then you could open the other ones. I'm like, no, they're going to take the other 4. I got to get all of them.
Right.
And
to ambition, you would say, or just not
Stubbornness.
ambition or
Stubbornness. That's the word.
Growing too fast.
I've always been stubborn.
Right.
And that's put me in places where I've made mistakes, but it's also put me in good places. So,
Right.
you know, I saw the potential, but what I didn't realize is that it was going to consume a lot of time, and that while the period of it starting, that I had to, you know, put a lot of money, and then the other source of income that I had that was going to support that business stopped. So then I'm like, you know, just draining money.
It seems like you were doing everything by yourself. Did you have a team when you actually?
Yeah, I had employees there in the gym shops, of course. Yeah.
But like an actual team that kind of helped you.
Administrative, no.
An executive team.
Okay.
No.
So I think maybe that's important, like having a team. I know that's what I learned, and that's very hard because I know how to do what I do, but delegating to somebody. Whew,
No, that's hard, and honestly, it was more because at that point I wasn't ready to systemize the business.
Right.
I was just starting it, so I didn't have the processes.
Right.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, long story short, so Chris can talk about his obstacles. You know, that was hard
So you
because
lost it all.
when you have a lifestyle that you're already used to,
Right.
Oh, really?
and you no longer have to worry about going to a restaurant and being like, oh crap,
Right.
I can't eat this.
Man.
That for me is horrible. Like I'm not about I want to make a lot of money because you
There's
know I
no
want to
money.
buy a Rolls Royce. Like that, yeah.
Small enjoyments.
Like the cars and
Right.
that is just the decisions. You know, the freedom of decision.
Right.
That for me
That's
is the most important. The freedom of decision.
Yeah.
And so going from there, where I'm like financially
No
not
limits.
free, financially
I got
stable,
goosebumps.
Bro.
Yeah, because I know exactly what
and
you're
then
saying,
going
man.
back to
Yeah.
zero,
Right.
where
Yeah.
I'm like seeing my mom cry for money,
Right.
stressed out,
Yeah.
Right.
and then you know I had a relationship and I ended it,
Right.
Wow.
and then I'm like, what the fuck
Right.
am I gonna do? And I'm
Right.
like, you know what? I'm like $30,000 in debt.
Right.
I'm gonna get a plane ticket,
Right.
then tuition again,
Right.
and I'm gonna go back and start from zero. And that was a year and a half ago.
Right.
And I built it back up, and now I'm like 5 times bigger than I was
See?
before.
That's
Yeah.
beautiful. Wow.
I love it. I love it.
That's awesome.
It's
Tell me about yours, and I'll share mine.
no, it's funny because it's the same thing.
Yeah,
where my family was, so my mom moved us to 13 different schools.
Wow.
Crazy, man.
So when it was time to graduate, I was 2 years behind. Because if you go to school in Florida, but then you go to school in New York, the credit system is different.
Yeah.
So you might take English 2 here, but it's not the way they do it up there. So you lose that whole year.
Yeah.
And I made a decision, said the day I was supposed to graduate, I said I'm just never going back. And I dropped out. Literally went and got my GED the next year and enrolled into college.
You didn't even make it through high school.
Yeah, I didn't. I was like,
Did it?
and
Yeah.
it wasn't
Wow.
because I couldn't. It's just
Yeah.
I'm wasting my time.
I almost didn't make it, honestly.
It was
Like, let me just get this. Like,
right. No,
you know,
because it was like it has nothing to do with
Yeah.
grades and
No.
it was none of that. It was
Yeah.
just we keep moving. And
Yeah.
if I stay in this situation where I'm gonna move right before the end of the year and I don't get to take my final exams because that's what happened like 4 times, what am I really doing this for?
Yeah.
And I left. I moved out at 17. I slept in my car for a week.
Crazy.
And when I turned 18, I got
17,
my
just as
first.
you.
That's why I got goosebumps because it's like I literally went through the same thing.
Wow. That's
I
cool.
remember my younger sister told me that my mom said when I moved out, he's gonna realize how hard it is to pay bills and he'll be back here. I
Yeah.
never went back.
No, never.
Never went back.
Maybe
so
just the thought of that, you're like, it's never like, I'm going to show
I didn't know
you.
that though.
Oh yeah.
I didn't know that she said that till years later.
okay.
It was
Oh,
just
wow.
a matter of I have to make this work, and it's always been me on my own, doing everything on my own. When are you gonna get a real job? You heard that
Yeah,
before.
yeah,
It was-
Define real.
right.
job.
So I'm like I'm not gonna do that. So then the whole building it up thing and losing it, then to build it back. That's what
Yeah.
happened. I saw a memory of mine on Facebook where I was playing with an Xbox, right, and
Yeah.
I broke it, and I was trying to do something to it and I broke it. This was 4 years ago, and an Xbox was $400 at the time,
Yeah.
and I didn't even try to fix it after I broke it. I got up and just went and bought another one.
Yeah.
And then I realized that in 2018, where I started to lose it all because of what I went through with the federal case and all the other good
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Check out his YouTube page.
I'll put a
Wanna
link to
say
it. Yes, I'll put a link to it.
Yeah, that's good.
I
Very-
went through a 2-year battle with the federal government where they wanted to put me in prison for 65 years, and
Wow.
it didn't happen, but I lost everything.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. One of my favorite restaurants is the Palm
Yeah.
at the Hard Rock. And I would see pictures of when I would go there and this huge steak and the bill was like $300, and it's just, it wasn't the money to say, because I didn't flaunt it. It was
Yeah.
just the ability to have the freedom to go and say, I feel like doing this.
Freedom, man.
Yeah.
That's what money is. It's freedom.
Freedom of rewarding yourself too.
Right.
I think those
So,
rewards.
It's
Because you work hard.
right,
Yeah.
right. So it's so funny because you work hard to have the freedom to be able to do these things and help other people.
Yeah.
And to the whole rebuilding process is fun, but
Yeah.
at the same time you got to look back and say, what mistakes did I make before
Yeah.
that contributed to the downfall? Because even though I was going through what I went through, if I would have cut back a little bit and parked my money in different places as opposed to just doing whatever the heck it is I wanted,
Yeah.
then it probably would have slowed the descent enough to where I could salvage a few things.
Yeah.
So recognizing your mistakes.
Right.
100%.
Like when you get to that point. So
Right.
that's one thing, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
So now it's just it's so much better because now it's like I'm investing my money in the right places
Yeah.
so that I get returns and I'm seeing how my portfolio is growing and I think you have to lose it all
Yeah.
in order to understand what it actually is and how to maintain it. I just think it's something that everyone has to go through.
Yeah.
You look at Steve Jobs.
Yeah.
He was kicked out of Apple.
Yeah.
And then they brought him back, and then he became the innovator he was, even though it was his company in the beginning. It's just,
It's crazy,
You
yeah.
have to go through it.
I think it's very interesting you said that because it's true, and I understand that now.
Right,
Not when I was going through it.
right,
So yeah, same thing happened to me. I actually left my retirement, and my idea was I'm gonna retire from the corporate world.
right.
I don't want to be in the status quo, and I said that for like years. And,
Yeah.
and you know, viewers of even some coworkers that I work with, we still stay in touch.
Right.
And they know that that's something I would say, and they're like, it's a little crazy.
Right.
This young girl, I was in my 20s, early 20s.
Yeah.
Still young, right?
Still young, no?
The youngest one here.
Chris is only,
Yeah.
I'm the oldest.
Chris is only one over 30.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm the old part.
I think I'm older than you.
I'm 35.
I'm 36.
Oh, see, there you
Yeah.
go.
I am older.
See, he's the baby.
I'm the baby.
Baby here. What was I saying? So
I thought you were crazy.
Yes.
Some did, and some like, yeah, you could do it, you could do it.
Yeah.
And when I finally did, they're like, whoa, you did it, like we're proud
Right.
of you and where you're at. But it was tough, to get out of. First, that was my goal, get out of corporate world.
Right.
And then when I did that, it's a risk because I went out, but I felt such a freedom.
Yeah.
Right.
And then when I did, I personally resigned in 2014. And it's tough because, benefits and
Right.
everything. So it was a
Security.
very big decision for
Yeah.
3 years that
Right, right.
security. Correcto.
With everything that's happening.
Right.
Yes,
right.
security.
Yeah.
But I also did, when I risked it in 2014, in 2015 I lost it all. So what I did is I became a clothing designer because that's what I wanted. I'm a fashion designer. I absolutely love them. Like, what is my passion? That's why I asked you guys. Because I sat down, I did, aside from working at the hospital, I also did like marketing on the side, brand ambassador, always.
Mm-hmm.
And then I bartended, I was a host, but I just love being around people and just
Right.
like
Yeah.
being just not stuck in a little box. I
Right.
couldn't. And that's what I realized. And then I'm like, okay, what do I really like, I'm passionate about? And I saw myself when I was a little girl. I always liked computers. So then I'm like, I think I wanted to be a teacher. And then I'm like, I always liked fashion. And that's what I started. So I lost it all in 2015. It's a big risk that I took. And I lost it all. And same thing as you. I lost my partner. So it wasn't just a loss of like my entire business,
Right.
Yeah.
my belongings, my house,
Right.
everything in my house. It was so tough.
Yeah.
Everything I worked hard for, the relationships, I was lost. So I want to ask you guys, what did you feel at that moment? How did you get out of it? Because I know I felt lost. I felt like I lost my identity. So what I did when I came from Colombia, I was in Naples, and then from Naples, I left. And I went to Miami. I couldn't face and come to Orlando. I knew maybe some friends would help, but I'm like, I couldn't
Right.
face, because I was in my 30s. I'm 36 now. I was literally 30 years old.
Right.
That was my goal. My retirement, my first retirement was retiring from corporate, and I did
Right.
at age 30. And now this happened. Like, I lost my identity. I lost the person that I was with. I lost like myself. What do I do?
Right.
But that voice I guess just didn't let me die, because that's what I wanted to do, just let me die.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't know. So what happened with me is like I just like, you know, that inner voice. I'm like, okay, I want to be this powerful person. So I saw myself like, this is what I want to be.
Right.
How do I get there? Because I don't feel like that. And then, so that's when I started listening to mentors. So one of my mentors, I would say, is Tony Robbins. Definitely that. I mean, I haven't met the guy in person. I haven't gone to his event, which I am. It changed my life. Many other ones too. Many other ones. So what I started doing is just, how do I build this person up again? Because it was from the inside first.
Right.
That was my experience. So mentors, listening to books, just positive things, and just like, okay, I could do this. I could do this. And, you know, and thankfully some people were able to help me, you know. And then also what I learned when I lost everything, and I want you guys to talk about that. That's why my circle got small, and it's getting smaller.
Right.
I learned who my real friends were. It was weird because I thought that some friends that were actually there for me, they actually were just very judgmental. And for no reason. I'm like, do you even know what happened to me? Like what I went through?
Right.
And so I think it was like the universe. I understand now why I had to, this long story short, why I had to go through. I had to lose everything for something bigger that was coming, something more that I was going to do, and to actually learn. I appreciated a lot more different things. I learned who my real friends were, because if I kept going through that, maybe I was gonna lose it, but in a bad way. I don't know. It's just so many things that I learned in that experience. So talk a little bit about that. Like, what helped you get up? Like,
you had what I call synthetic friendships. So a friend of mine texted me the other day, and he'd probably be mad at this, but we had a conversation, and he was telling me how something I said to him years ago really resonates even now, where I told him, you got to be careful of synthetic friendships, because everyone is buddy-buddy, but they really don't like each other. So when you get on social media, you'll see how everyone is friends, everyone's this and that, but it's really not true. So I told him, you have to understand how to compartmentalize your relationships and put people where they're supposed to be. So he and I were supposed to have a discussion that day about it, but he didn't call me. So the next day he calls me, and I said, see, I wanted to prove a point. You asked me why I never reached out to you when I was going through my thing for 2 years, why I never would reach out to you and talk to you about it. You had a bad day yesterday, and you contacted me. And when I reached out to you to discuss it, you weren't available because you just had to decompress and you didn't want to talk to anyone. So I'm fighting for my life for these 2 years. I'm facing 65 years in prison. If you have a bad day at work and I can't reach you, even though you're the one that reached out to me, you expect me to call you when I'm going through the toughest times of my life? We're still friends and I love you to death, but I know which friends I can call and say, hey, I need to talk to you. And just because you're not one of those friends doesn't mean we're not friends. I said, I'm the type of person that if we're friends, I will go out of my way for you. And I gave him the example. I said, you remember when, you were, you had a night on the town one night, and this was like 4 years ago. We weren't even that close. And he calls me at 3 a.m, like, hey, I can't make it home. I got out of my bed from Winter Garden and drove to downtown Orlando to pick him up. And took him home. It was never no gas money, it was never no this, it was never no that. I didn't do that because I was looking for something in return. I did it because that's the type of friend I am. So knowing that you're not that type of person, I'm not going to put you in a position. I mean, it is what it is. I'm not going to put you in a position to fail and screw up our relationship. So how I started to notice that, again, when I went through what I went through, that a lot of people disagreed, but I expected it. And I've known you for a while, and I say in my video that one of the hardest parts 2 years ago is when I was in the middle of working with so many different people, is if I would say, hey, I'm gonna give you a call back, and I couldn't. They didn't know why. So it hurt. But now that people understand the story, it's like, okay, now it makes sense why I probably didn't hear from you for 2 or 3 days. It's because I have this shit attorney, excuse my language, and I had to go to work and really do what they had to do, and it was just so much stress that I won't say I couldn't deal with it. I learned something. Nobody cares. Just work harder. And that was my thing. It was nobody cares about it.
It's funny you said that because I'm such a passionate person. And I'm the same way, you know, as well. Like if I need to do something, I go out of my way and I just do it. And,
Right.
and you know, and I felt and I learned that literally just recently, because I had to like come
Right.
with myself and say, look, not everybody's like you.
Right.
Because you feel like, okay, well, I use this word a lot and I stop. Initiative.
Right. Right.
It's like you don't teach somebody initiative. It's just like you do it.
Right.
Like I'm like, well, why do I have to tell you if there's initiative? So it's just funny, you know, that you touched that point, because, you know, I learned that as well.
Right.
in my life.
Yeah, no, it's, and again, I'm not going to change. I'm still going to be the type that goes out of my way for people, but not everybody.
Learn that it's not everybody's like that.
So don't expect it. So you got to know, are you going to put yourself in that
I learned
position?
that from Gary Vee. Don't expect things.
Are you going to put yourself in that
Listen to
position?
that.
That's really it. It's just knowing that no matter what it is that you're going through, you could, God forbid, have cancer tomorrow.
Yeah.
Everybody says they care. Nobody cares. Just work harder. Just overcome
Yeah.
it. Become tougher. Become tougher. Become stronger. Become better. And just overcome
Maybe
it.
sometimes it's not that they care. Sometimes it's they don't care. Some don't. But
Right.
some it's like it's just, especially this life that we're living.
Right.
And I spoke about yesterday the difference between cultures, and you know the difference between people that live in Nicaragua, Colombia is so different than here, even
Right.
Jamaica.
Yes.
Here is such a fast pace. It's like, I got you. I know I would help you or whatever. It's just like I got to do my thing. I got to focus.
Right.
You know, mine.
On mine. Right.
So it's a little tough, but still, you know, we do learn, and I've learned that as well. Putting category, I guess,
Right.
in a sense of this is a friend that, you know, we're gonna have a lot of fun.
Right. And that's all that
You're
is.
a fun friend,
Right.
And I want to keep it that way. We're fun, you know. But as telling my story or telling or telling how I'm doing,
Right.
you know, it's very tough. It's not a
Right.
lot of friends that I could say, you know, they're very
Right.
small. So what
Yeah.
about you? Your experience, like, you know, like he was saying.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was, I actually did the courses with Tony Robbins. I did UPW and Day with
I want
Destiny.
to do that. Walk on Fire.
Yeah.
Oh,
Unleash the
Destiny,
power within, and then
okay.
Day with
Wow.
Destiny is where it really goes deep.
Yeah.
Like
That
that.
changed me. I saw a video because of that. It
Yeah.
changed me so deep. Yeah.
No, literally, they make you. It's like a full week, and they
Right.
make you. It's crazy. They make you go inside
Yeah.
and really get those limiting beliefs and those
Excuse me.
things that are affecting you out.
Right.
And the crazy thing is, one of the rituals that they do is they make you write
Right.
what would be the goals and what you want to accomplish,
Right.
right? Or who you want to be. You write it out, and you have to say it like out loud with the team that you're with, and you have to say it until they believe you. They say, "I don't believe you," and
Right.
then you gotta say it, and you gotta say it, and you gotta say it, and you gotta say it.
Right.
They keep the letter.
Right.
And here's a crazy story, right? So I wrote exactly what I wanted. Boom, 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 boom. I put it there. They keep it. And then I was on a flight to Bogota, to 𝐿𝑜𝑣𝑒, right? And, you know, I was in the home, and I saw that a bunch of letters came in. So I was late to the airport like always. I got the letters. I put them in my bag. And then I'm running in the airport. I'm late. I'm like, fuck, I'm going to miss my flight again.
Right.
I'm late. I had an event over there, like, you know, one of the conferences.
Yeah.
And so I got on the plane. I'm like, oh, I made it. And then I like get and start unpacking, and one of the letters,
Right.
I open it up,
Right.
and it was exactly what I wrote. You know what I wrote
Right.
in that seminar, and I was reading it. I'm like, this can't be. This
I
can't be.
actually did it.
Exactly. Like it wasn't one thing that was not
How long?
precise.
They sent the letter when, like a year
It was
later?
like a year later,
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
like 9,
That's
10
very
months later. So
Right.
it was insane. But for me, when I was through those hard moments, there were two things that helped me. Number one, listening stories to people that already went through what I am going through.
Right.
So when I looked at that, not like, oh, this guy's successful, but actually
Their story. how
their
it
story, and I'm
started,
like, they're passing what I'm passing.
Yes.
It's
Right.
fine, you know, it's part of the process. But what did they do when they were in my position?
Right.
Yes.
Okay, they went this route, so I got to keep on this route.
Right.
And then I listened to stories over and over and over again, and I investigated, not like just the story, oh, he's successful, but
Right.
the actual process.
Right.
And that kept me focused. But that was the easy part. Now, my relationship, when I ended it, that was the harder.
Right.
Like,
Right.
business-wise, I've always been focused, right?
Right.
So when I ended the relationship, I literally gave myself 3 days where I told, you know, don't contact me, like I'm gonna be, you know, healing.
Right.
And I started looking at videos of Anthony Robbins. I started hearing things, and in my phone, I probably still have it. I wrote exactly the story of why ending the relationship was best for both.
Right.
Wow.
And this is
That's
this is a
Right.
therapy or actionable thing that you can do anytime there's a story that's limiting you.
Right.
Mhm.
Get your phone and write the other version
Right.
that empowers you.
Right.
Why? Because if the limiting story is the one that's dominating,
Right.
it's going to keep you back.
Right.
So I literally wrote, and I'm like, look, even though it's hard, the fact that we ended this relationship is best for both, because this,
Right.
this, and if it's God's intention, we will come back, and if not, it's because it's going to be best for both.
Right.
And I read it, 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 and I read it until my brain believed it.
Right.
And
Became
then
real.
I made myself believe it,
Right.
because it was hard.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's something that I always do. Anytime I have a voice in my head, I stop, I analyze it, and I write the empowering version. And then I read it, and 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 then my brain believes it. And it's
Right.
not because the brain, the subconscious mind cannot identify whether it is reality
Right.
or imagination. It's the same
I
feeling.
like you said
I'm gonna
that,
send you
'cause
something
I've
that I
heard
think
that.
you're
Send
gonna
it
enjoy.
to me,
I'll
yeah.
send you something that you're gonna
Yeah.
enjoy.
So you gotta, feel it and believe it. And then if you do that, that's gonna be your experience in life.
Right.
You can have the same event. We all three, something could happen right now.
Right.
Each one is gonna look at a different lens.
Right.
So all you have to do to overcome any emotional, situation
Right.
is look at it from an empowering lens.
Right.
And that's gonna determine the emotion, and that's gonna determine the quality of your
That
life.
was very interesting.
know?
I like the way you
I'm gonna
said
send you
it.
something.
Send it,
I
bro.
like
Send
the way
it.
you said it, and I like the first thing that you said. This is why I'm doing this video, and actually, this idea was a long time ago. The reason why I've changed or what's helped me in my journey, especially that one when I lost everything, which was tough, is stories.
Yeah.
This is why I thank you guys for coming and sharing your story, because we don't know who's going through that,
Right.
and that's what always pushed, that's what motivated me. And I always okay, I get it. It's I get it, you made it, but what? And especially on my little go, okay, what did you go through?
Right,
what
right,
exactly did you do? What happened? Okay, you lost a friend. This is what they said. Because through that, it's it helped my walk.
You're
Yeah.
seeking wisdom.
Yeah.
Because smart people learn from their mistakes, wise people learn from
Right.
the mistakes of other people.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And I'm glad, I love it when everybody, Tony Robbins, his story is amazing, and all the other mentors and, great speakers, when they tell the stories now, 10X, I follow Grant Cardone and his story, and
Uncle G.
yeah, Uncle G and his wife, so it's so beautiful, because then it just, what I felt was I felt like I was the only one going
Right.
through it. You feel like that. I'm the only one. It's just me.
Right.
Yeah.
You're alone.
But when you hear somebody else, it's you can relate, and you're oh, you just feel more at ease. And then all that anxiety, all that, crazy thoughts, and I can't do it, negativity, it's more helpful.
Right.
That's why I encourage people to tell their story, tell people, how did you get to where you're at, and not just, hard work, that's great hard work, but
Right.
what did you go
Right.
through?
Right.
Because I want to know if what I'm going through is the same as you, so then that motivates me
Right.
to keep going.
100%.
So that was beautiful.
Yeah, things
You know what
happen
he said,
for
and
you.
also
Yeah.
writing it down. I've
Not
learned that
to
too.
you.
Yes, and writing it down the way he said it, that was very empowering.
It is.
I never thought it the way you said it. It was very, very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the best things that I got from the seminar from Tony is things happen to you,
Right.
or things happen for you, not to you.
Right.
So every time something happens that I think happened to me,
Right.
Against me.
you just gotta shift it. Why did it happen? Not
Right.
okay, this happened. Why?
Right. That's how you. Yeah. That,
Yeah.
And I mean,
Yeah.
it's hard, of course, to do, because
Right.
it's you gotta work on it. It's muscle. You gotta work
Right.
on it.
I think also it's part of
But-
maturity too. Well, to me, maybe
Yeah.
that's the way I started seeing it. I
Right.
think what I went through, and I went through a lot of stuff when I was a kid, when I was in my adolescence. How do you say it?
Adolescence.
Adolescence.
Yeah, yeah.
That's so funny. In the show before yesterday, the whole time I always said adolescent, because I was thinking, and she corrected me. Thank
The
you.
Spanish.
Right.
The Spanish kicks in.
Adolescence.
I saw people.
Adolescent.
That's one of the words I can't say. Adolescence.
Close enough. Yeah, you got it.
Okay, got it. So I'm but I feel like every time when I go through something, it's more of a maturity. I see it a different way. I would have
Right.
never in my lifetime seen it, like what you're saying, until now, when this happened, this big thing where I lost
Right.
it all, and I've gone through something similar, but not like that.
Yeah.
Where I'm I saw it that way. I'm you know what? There is when I keep hearing people say there's a reason, I'm like, I don't want to hear that shit.
Right, but it's true.
I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
But it's just, you have to come, I just came to an understanding. I don't know how to say it. I think the universe is just like that point. You're like, I get it now. I get it. And
You
it's
have
the
to
same
come
thing.
full circle.
I got it.
Yeah.
I got it.
The dots always connect
It's
looking
so
backwards.
weird. Yeah,
not
it's so
forward.
weird.
And now that's, I feel, you know, when I went through all that, my heartbreak, my breakup, and just a lot of different things.
Yeah.
The heartbreak with the relationship with my business, with friends, with everything.
Right.
Yeah.
With life, I guess itself, it was so hard. And I just, when I got out of it, you know, I'm like, I wish I didn't met this person. I wish that didn't happen. And just wishing doesn't help.
Right.
But what I learned is exactly what you're saying, that, you know what, if I didn't go through that, like this person that's right here, and a lot of people say, oh, it's just, you're so good, you're so outgoing, you have no idea
What it
who
took
I
to get
was.
there,
Who I was,
This shy person, everything that I went through, depression, sadness, you have no idea.
Right.
So it's, what it took is just realizing that I saw it in a different way. I'm like, okay, it sucks, because, you know, in life it's just, you know, some things, it just seems unfair, but
Right.
because of that, I am this empowering person, this powerful person that I feel. You know, I speak more dominant in a sense of like, I know what I want, I'm gonna go for it, I'm gonna get it.
Yeah. That's
Which I always felt that, but I never really did it because I was
Right.
like so scared. You
Right.
know?
Yeah.
So it's just beautiful seeing it that way. So if you're going through something, I know it's tough to see it right now, but eventually you will see that all those things, even friends, up to that moment, even I understood, like in 2012, my life changed in a drastic way, and every year after that, it has changed and gone through different levels. And what I learned in this, and what I'm learning, is that not when I lose something or a job or a business,
Right.
it's just up to that point.
Right.
Is that it was my learning, my
Right. Your
my
journey.
understanding, my journey.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So then, what's next? That's how I see things now. Like,
Right.
okay, cool. Like,
Next.
it's up to here. Whatever. If I'm part of a group, I'm part of a business, whatever. It's like, okay, up to here. That's how I felt before I left. I know I've had people ask me, how I want to leave the corporate world. Like, how did you do it? It just 3 years before that, I felt it. I'm like, okay, this is what I want to do, and I had to take some action. That's very important. Some action, and like, it's so important. Either by what I did is I got a second job when I did the marketing, and that money I put it aside because it was for the business. That's an action. An action was just, you know, also saying it. Okay, I can do this. Also, I lost my train because I lost my train.
No, you're
my
fine.
train of thought. That happens. God, what was I gonna say? What was I saying?
You're saying your train of thought, your
See,
actions.
it's
You have to
reversed.
take action. You gotta just do it. Nike.
Believe it.
What was I
Feel
gonna say
it.
before? My mind is always on the go.
Right.
And when I'm thinking something else, and then
Right.
something else. So that's why I'm like, I gotta calm myself.
Squirrel.
But yes.
You're talking about.
But I
corporate.
had a point, yes, but it's gonna come to me. So
Right.
let's keep talking, you know, about this topic, and it'll come to me.
Yeah.
I'll say it.
But no, it's so funny because again, I knew that this was gonna be fun, but it's serendipity because you're supposed to be there in the morning, I'm supposed to be there afterwards, and now we're here together. It's like this is
It's not coincidence.
it's a great coincidence, and it's you just figured out stuff a lot earlier than most people.
Yeah.
That's really what it boils down to, and you're wise. You're not waiting for your, even though you make mistakes, you're not waiting and only relying on your mistakes. You're looking at other people and saying, where did you go wrong?
Yeah.
And how do I fix that? Because everything we want to know is already out there. Somebody's already done it.
It's already there. Yeah.
It's just a matter of looking to it and saying, okay, I can
Nothing
see
is
where.
new above the sun.
It's
or below
not.
the sun.
It is not. So it's
And the funny thing is, we have like those same perspectives each, right?
right.
So each one interprets it in a different way, but
Right.
it's all connected.
It is.
Like I can tell, you know, I can tell.
Right.
Yeah.
Ooh, I remember now. Okay, so thank you.
Is it about the tribes?
This is why I was always afraid to do live, because this is me. This is really
That's
actually me. I
fine,
forget
yeah.
things. But it was about maturity, right? That was my point. Like how that changed my perspective and seeing things. You know, before I felt like the world owed me something because I went through something when I was young, when I was adolescent.
Right. In your
Oh,
adolescence,
I got
right.
it. Adolescence.
Right.
When I was in my teens, and then so I had to get out of that mindset.
Right.
And so maturity now, I see it as like, you know what? There's a reason why I met that person, because I actually learned something. So
Right.
what I see now, even if it's somebody hurt me, I'm like, it's a give and receive. That's the way I see the universe now.
Right.
Like there's a reason why I met them for 2 seconds, even if they hurt me. There's something that I learned from them.
Right.
Either staying away from those type of people, or maybe just my presence in some way, you know, brought them some positivity. When, you know, sometimes we ask, we ask God, or we ask the universe, or we ask somebody, teach me this, I want to learn this, or help me with this. And sometimes people come in a very different way that we don't expect it.
Right.
You know, I've had very confrontational situations and people that I'm like, I didn't expect that, but that's what I needed at the moment to change.
Yeah.
So I've learned that maturity, kind of like accepting that everything in my life, it's just, okay, you know, I got to this point, like whenever, that was my point. Whenever people ask me, how did you leave the corporate world? I knew I had to do something because that's what I wanted to do. And then towards the end, which I felt that was the year I needed to resign, I wasn't performing 100%. That's when I knew that, you know, the universe, something's telling me like, okay, it's time to go, right?
Right.
It was just my time to leave. So yeah, that's what I needed to say.
Agreed.
That's funny. It's listening to, again, the stories of how you had to overcome adversity and losing it all. I believe that's the crux of this entire experience, is being able to go through it and look back and see that this is what I had to go through, and you connect the dots like you were saying. It's an incredible thing, man. It's an incredible journey.
I don't think I was ready to make the money when I had it. You know, I don't think I was prepared.
Right. And it sounds funny.
It sounds funny. It sounds funny. But I swear that looking back, I say, fuck, thanks.
Right.
If I would have had that money back then,
it would have been the right
I don't know
time.
that I would be the person that I am now.
Yep.
Right.
That's,
you know, because
it.
that's the thing. Because when I went through what I went through, it wasn't, oh my God, why this happened to me? It was, okay, now I see what. Because if it would have just continued on that path, it wouldn't have. I wouldn't say nothing bad would have happened, but I would have just been making money. And I know, I know it sounds so stupid just to say that,
bro.
But you have to go through it to understand it.
Yeah.
So now it's like, all right, well, I should have did this, and now I need to. This is what I'm doing, which is one of the reasons I started the YouTube channel, because it's like I wasn't taught any of this stuff growing up. I wasn't taught how to invest in the stock market. I wasn't taught about Roth IRAs and just understanding how to park your money in specific vehicles to ensure growth.
Yeah.
High yield savings accounts. That wasn't something that you were ever taught.
They don't teach you that.
Right. So thinking about money that I just put in my savings account and just left it there.
Yeah.
And I look and it's like 2 cents interest. It's like, why didn't I just take that and put it here instead?
Yeah.
Just these lessons that you learn. It's a beautiful journey, and that's the beauty of getting older.
Yeah.
Is that you understand. Again, you just got it a lot sooner than most people.
Yeah.
I understand why that had to happen. So you don't look at things as being a victim anymore. It's like, okay, thanks for that.
Yeah.
Because that helped to build me into this other person that I am now, and it's a beautiful thing.
I don't know if it happens to you, but now I value it more, and I'm scared of losing it again.
Right.
So, you know, I made like
You're
literally
cautious.
since I lost it, I know what it was to have it.
Right.
And I know what it was to not have it again.
Right.
So now I'm like, I'm never going back there. Like never in my life will I go back there.
Right.
And so now the financial part, which I know is the other section of the show. I think we're only in the first section.
It's
gonna be like
he asks us like, why 1 hour? Because we just
just keep talking.
Yeah.
So now that you hit financial, let's talk about that. So money.
Yeah.
So what is the definition to you of money? Because I think some people see it as a bad way and as a good way. So what's the definition for you of money?
Freedom. Freedom.
That's literally it's freedom.
Yeah, for me it's a resource to amplify who you are and do what you want.
Right.
It's it's that simple. Like when you have money, you can focus on what you really want.
Right.
And not have to worry about the money.
Right.
So when people are, but you only think about money. No.
Right.
I'm getting it out of the way, so when I have a family,
right,
I can focus on them, which is my priority.
Right.
Not on chasing money.
Right.
You know?
I like that. So you said that, and the way I see it, it's like you see money as a plan as well. It's like you plan it. You know.
I see it as an energy, as a resource. I see it as something good.
Right.
Because now that we're in this situation, thanks because of money, people are able to help.
Right. Yes.
If I wasn't in a position, I wouldn't be able to help the families that are helping in Colombia. Right. So it's not bad.
You can't help the poor if you're one of them.
Yeah, I think maybe it's bad when people that think it's bad, it's just they either mismanage it or they just
People that think it's bad is people that don't have any.
because
Right.
of negative.
That's
No,
simple.
it's true because one of the things that I used to do before, when I, again, thinking that I had a lot of money way back in 2008, 9, I would go and just feed the homeless. And
That's right.
one of the things that, when I was, again, going through my situation, they have these letters that you would write to the judge, and friends of mine would write these letters. One of my friends wrote, he wrote about a story where I ended up running out of gas on OBT. And this homeless guy helped me push my car out of the way and just into the, onto the curb, and he walked off, and I'm like, hey, come back, like, where are you going? And I bought him some food, and then I would come back and I would see him, and I would buy him food whenever I would see him. And then I sat and I spoke to him, and he's like, oh, I messed up, I got on drugs, I'm here, my family's in Puerto Rico, I have no way of getting back to them, et cetera, et cetera. I went and bought him clothes, and it's funny because here's what I did. I went and bought him clothes, and I went to take a picture. This is way back when. Just to kind of say, hey, if anybody's around, help this guy out. But the look on his face when I brought out my phone, I put it away. And I didn't care that anyone knew. It was just, I'm not putting you out there so everyone can come help you. I'm helping you. So I bought a plane ticket for him to go stay with his family.
That's how
I forgot that I did that. But my friend Jose put it in the letter to the judge, look, this is not somebody that's going to take advantage of people. He goes out of his way to help people. Here's something that he did that I still remember from back in 2011 or 12 or something like this. I didn't even remember that story. So when you get money, it isn't for you to go and, pop bottles in the club, and you can do that stuff because it's whatever. But
whatever reward you like.
Right. It really does amplify who you are. So if you're the type to help people and give to charity, you're just going to do it more when you make money. And that's all it was.
And crazy thing is, well, two things. One, when I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, it was so impactful that I literally bought like 20 or 30 copies. And I started just handing it out to people, in high school. And also, I gave it to a couple of people. I'm like, look, I'm not just going to give you money, because I always ask for money. I'm going to give you something that can create a sustainable change. And I literally give them that in Think and Grow Rich. But I was this week with someone, and they said, in order to be a millionaire, you got to screw other people.
It's not true.
And I was like, what the fuck, man? What a limiting belief, man. It's like, if you think about it, the person, if a person is a millionaire, he's the owner of a company, nobody else is going to be a millionaire in his company. And I told him, look, if he's a millionaire, it's because he just employed 10 people, and they're not making $1 million, but they could be making 50, 100, 150. If it wasn't because of an idea that he executed and a team and a system that he built, those 10 people wouldn't have a job.
And they can do the same thing.
100%. They have the same capability.
Right.
Just that they don't take risks.
Right. They're not executing.
If you take the risk, you get the reward.
Right.
So there's something from Zig Ziglar.
Yeah. Help enough people get what they want, you'll eventually get what you want.
That's how it is. If you help enough people get what they want, you'll get what you want.
Right.
Always. So, when I'm building a company or a team or whatever I'm doing, I literally put my goals based on the people that are around me.
Right.
So I'm like, how much do they want to make?
Right.
Can I help them make that?
Right.
If the answer is yes, then I know how much I'm going to make.
It breeds loyalty as well.
100%. That's why people literally, I'm 23. Fuck.
Right. Right.
How does a 35, 40-year-old put their future on my in my hands?
Right.
Because they know that my decisions are based on a collective win.
Right.
They know that I'm going to make decisions based on everybody rising.
And I like that what you said. That that's how you create loyalty. And I think I also heard something from Gary Vee, and it just blew my mind. Like how some people that have employers and employees, right? Yeah, employees, and that they're not loyal. And it's just like, because you're treating them in a sense of you're not rewarding them or you're not giving them, you're treating them, I don't know what he
like
said.
Disposable.
You're treating them like crap.
Treating them like they're disposable.
And he was like, I'm very appreciative of what they do, and I go out of my way and find out what they like or something, and then, I kind of build them. They're my partners. They're not just working for me. So I like that, what you said, because it's true. It's very important. So in order to grow, and I think the people that have that mindset, probably it's either, that, I don't know, the way they're treated like that.
Yeah.
Well, there's a story of two people that I'm going to use. There's this one guy way back when. You ever saw The Wolf of Wall Street?
Yeah.
Okay. There's a part in there. There's a part in there where Jonah Hill says to Leonardo DiCaprio, "If you can show me a check right now for $70,000, I'll quit my job and come work for you."
Yeah.
And he did. I went through something similar in 2011 or 12. And I told this one guy, I said, well, this is what I'm making. He said, if you can show me that, I'll stop what I'm doing and come work with you. So I pulled out my bank account and showed him, this is what I'm actually making. He quit his job, he came to work with me. He stole from me.
Wow.
Oh,
Because
wow.
I believe something. If you give people enough to where they don't need you, you know if they're really there with you.
Yeah.
So it's never limiting. It's here, take it all.
Yeah.
So you don't need me. Because if you're staying with me because of what I can give you, you're not supposed to be here. So here's enough to where you can go out and do it on your own, and that's what he did.
Yeah.
Didn't last long. He went right back to what he's doing before we, started working together. But then I have this other guy, Steve, who works with me at AFN now. And I would show Steve, okay, you're doing this, but you're wasting your talent. You should go do this. And it wasn't do it through me. It was, here's the opportunity. Go run with it.
Yeah.
And he can tell you himself that it's changed his life. So it's never, how am I going to tether you and hold you to me? It's, what do you want to do? What do you want to accomplish?
Yeah.
Here's the path to do it. Either you're going to take it or you're not. But either way, you'll be able to do it on your own and you'll never need me again. So if we stay friends after you don't need me, then it's real.
Yeah.
That's how you have to treat folks.
For sure.
My opinion.
Agreed. You gotta, you build the people build the company.
Right.
That's how it is.
Right.
You're right. And
You gotta invest in the people.
yes, I love that you said that because it's very important. So something that I learned, it's that you gotta know people's ambition. Maybe that's the way I see it. Meaning like whoever you employ, whoever is in your team. That's the way I see it. In your team, because we're all a team. So if you're the CEO and you need somebody for, because those are your legs and your arms. So they're a team. They're not just employers. A team, because if they're not functioning, you're not functioning.
Right.
So I think it's very important knowing their ambition. There's some people that their ambition is just knowledge. You know, them with just a piece of knowledge, they're good. Like, I'm great. Some people are ambitious about money at that time, meaning the growth and like strategies. So I think identifying, that's what Gary said. I'm gonna send that to you guys. I think I'm sure you guys heard it, but
Maybe,
just the way he explained it, I absolutely love it. The way I explained it's totally different, but it's just seeing their ambition and what they like and they want to do, and just appreciating that. Like, okay, you like knowledge, you like this, so that's building your team. So you're helping them in that sense. You want to grow and you want to do the same thing as me. Okay, I'm going to teach you because growth is important. That's what we're all here for. Yeah. So I love that you said that. Invest in people, they invest in you. So let's go to the next one. I think we really elaborated money.
Yeah, we
definition
did.
of money.
I love money, by the way.
Me too.
We're talking about loving money. I love money.
Without money, we can't have anything. I mean, the clothes we're wearing, anything. The car we're driving. It's a source.
It is.
Just like you guys said, not as. That's the way you see it different. If you see money as like, oh my gosh, it's like this bad thing, then if you see it as a source, it's
gonna stay away from you if you think it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
Right.
It'll stay away from you.
It will.
Yeah.
And that's why you would have this bad experience, and that's why you keep saying money is bad.
And at the end of the day, people that say money is bad, they still work for it. So
Exactly. So it's more critical.
Anyway, so next one.
So what is the definition to you of game, right? Game, I think it's so, we can elaborate. So what we know of game, I think one thing that we've learned at game, we played it as a kid, it's like, okay, you play this, you have these rules, these strategies, and then it's game over, which I am like against that. I think game is never over. There's always a strategy, a different way, and then you play again, and it's just continuous. Right. So I think I asked you this last time as well. What is the definition of game for you, number one? And then I'll ask you the next one. Like, what do you think of the word game
well,
in your life?
Game. You play a game to win. That's the first thing.
Right.
Honestly, I'm 100%. Like, you can't go in a game and I'm
gonna do okay.
Yeah. You want to go into the game wanting to win, and if you don't win, you have to learn how to lose temporarily. Right. But you have to go with the mindset to win, or else you're not gonna win, unless you get lucky. Right. But, and I told you this last time, I was on a flight with Brian McMullen, one of my early mentors, literally multi-millionaire. Right. And, he still kept working hard. And when we were in the plane and we were going to Medellin, if I'm not mistaken, I asked him, well, you already have everything you need. Right. He has residual income, so it's not that he has to work to make the money he makes. It's residual. Why do you keep working? And I remember he had like his little water in the plane, and we were like, I think the food was getting there. He's like, Wandy, look, honestly, it gets to a point where you don't work anymore for money.
Right.
You work because it's a game and you want to keep winning.
Right.
And the way he said it, it was basically like, it's a matter of keep doing what you want because you love it, because you want to keep growing.
Right.
Because if you don't grow, then you're gonna go the other way back.
Right.
And that happens to a lot of people. They build a company, they sell it, and then they don't know what to do with their life because they have all this money, but they lost the participation in the game.
Right.
So when he said that, that changed my perspective. I'm like, all right, how awesome would it be? Because for me, there's 3 levels.
Right.
Scarcity, stability, and freedom. Right? So when there's scarcity, like, oh, you know, fuck everything, man. I gotta get money to live.
Right.
Right? Then you
backs on the wall.
Yeah, backs on the wall. Then it's stability. That's where people make a mistake because they feel that they're stable.
Right.
And they go from the mindset of scarcity to stable.
Right.
And then that's when they get comfortable. You know, they make 10 grand a month and they spend 9.
Hold on, tell
Bro, you're crazy.
I have to stop.
I love this energy.
No, we're connected, man.
Yeah, totally.
𝐿𝑜𝑣𝑒 Perez is one of my good friends.
it.
I used to sell cars.
Hi,
with him.
Elton.
Right. So he and I were talking the other day.
Congratulations.
Yes, he and I were talking the
company.
other day, and I said to him, I said, do you realize that out of everyone in our group, I was making the most, but I had the most free time?
Yeah.
He said, right, because you were too comfortable. You did everything, you had everything going for you, but you didn't go to the next level.
Yeah.
It was just, we would say, hey, let's go out for drinks. My friend Marcus would have to, let me go over my schedule, and Elgin would be working, doing something. I'm just like, all right, fine, I'll go by myself. When it came to vacations, the same thing. I would get up in the middle of the night and say, I want to go here, and we would just go. That's where I stopped. I got comfortable and just left it alone. Because it wasn't, the material things didn't matter. It was just, it was the freedom. It was the breathing room, the game. Yeah. And I just, so continue. But yeah.
No, I agree, man. Bro, look, let me tell you something. I totally agree. Because that happens, you know, and anytime I feel comfortable, I'm like, fuck, man, I'm doing something wrong because, you know, I should be growing. Right. Like now, my time is not going to be what I was doing before because maybe I already have a system in place to do that. But then my time has to be dedicated to something to get me to the next level. Right. And I heard this from Dwayne Johnson. He was like, I work as if my back was still against the wall. Right. That's one of the things that I acquired with the fall. Right. Because, you know, I had to get my back against the wall again. So now I operate at that point.
All the time.
All the time, man. All the time.
Right.
Until I get to the 3rd level. Right. I'm not at the 3rd level. Right. I'm at a point where I'm stable, but I'm not free. Right. Yeah. And that's what we talked about last time. That really depends on the financial thermostat of every person. Right. For some people that maybe are at that point, maybe for them they're already free. For me, I haven't met that. Right. So I work not as if I'm financially stable, and I don't spend as if I'm financially stable. Right. I work and I spend as if I'm still a year and a half ago, $30,000 in debt. Right. With 2 months of living and about to get a job selling cars because I couldn't keep funding my company. Right. Right. Yeah. Hey. You see it? Yeah. Yeah. And that's the game. Yeah. He's 100% right. It's. Again, these conversations aren't conversations you can have with everyone because not everyone understands. No. And you can come across sounding pretentious and full of yourself by just having these but it's real life. I think
until you go through it.
You don't
some people like yourself that I love that. That's why, like you said, chiquitico.
The bebe.
No, because it's just, that's what, when I asked them, like, how old are you? Because you just talk and you, 30, right? It's like, I'm 20, I'm 22.
23. Not that young.
Right.
We're still young, all 3 of us.
Yeah.
But it was just, you know, so interesting that he just learned so quickly. And I think you just got to, you know, some people just learn quickly because you want to take that in. And you're like, until this day, I think it's just a decision. Right. I know one day I was tired. I'm like, I'm tired of being tired. Right. You've heard that. But I literally was, I'm like, what can I change to not be the same person? Right. What I started was just confronting my fears. Right. I'm like, this is what I fear, which this was one of them. Right. Being live and talking, a lot of different things, like, you know, and anything. I'm like, I'm so scared. So my game in my life has been like just confronting my fears, and because that's what was stopping me. Right. That was my scarcity in my mind, you know, thinking that I couldn't do this, I couldn't do that. And I think it's honestly, even now, I think in this situation, a lot of people have a lot of scarcity, right? Right. That's how you say it. scarce mind.
Close enough.
Yeah, because they're like, oh my goodness, you know, and I know it's very hard. Because, you know, your hours have gone low or you laid off.
Right.
But then I think in another side, it's beautiful because now is the time that we all are creative. We all have skills. We all have talents. That one thing that you want to do, like YouTube videos, and I was speaking about, I think, not last show, but the one before that now I think we have so many opportunities. Before we didn't have these videos where you can tell the world, what do you like? Who are you?
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think scarcity is just starts where you just gotta be tired of where you're at and literally just doing something about it, changing your mindset. And so just tell us a bit more about the game. I know my game in my life has been so, wow, just crazy. Like I've learned so much. And to me, I tell people, I think it's been so crazy because it's confronted me. Right. It's confronted me with people, with life, with things that were just like, this is what you need to change. This is who you are. I had to accept myself. I had to accept what, like you said, what mistakes you've made, what pattern I kept doing.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Well, if I keep doing the same circle, if I keep doing the same thing, it hasn't worked. Right. Sometimes we could be stubborn. Right. Super stubborn. Right. And that was me, right? Acknowledging what I kept doing in the pattern, and my game just kept changing. Right. So.
No, again, Juan hit the nail on the head. It's you have to find that passion. What is it that you're playing for? What is it? Because you ever notice that most lottery winners go broke?
100%.
The reason they go broke is because you got to think what their game is they want to make enough money to pay the bills and get them to the next week or the next month. Yeah. Right. So when you no longer have to worry about paying your cell phone bill, your rent, your car note, anything, you don't have anything to wake up in the morning to look towards. Yeah. So when people like money's evil, it's not that, because you can't focus on the money. You have to focus on the game. You have to focus on exactly what is the process that it's taking. Yeah. Like you said, rebuilding is so much more fun because when you had it, you didn't really appreciate it as much as you do now because you understand what it's like to go back. So these people go broke after winning the lottery because they have nothing to live for. They never figured out the game. They never figured out what is it that they're doing now that they got $300 million. They haven't.
So you have to figure out. So the game to you is you got to figure out what your game is.
Right. Well, what is your
goal? What is it you want to reach?
What's your goal?
Why are you working so hard? Why are you waking up early?
Right. If I needed to identify a synonym of game, it would be growth. Right. Right. Like that's the game, you know. You want to keep playing, and there's never an end because you can't stop growing.
Right. Yes. Right. If
I had to put in a synonym, you know. And the thing is, the money can just be like one of the
byproducts.
The byproducts or one of the results of the person that you've become. Right. But as you keep growing, not only financial wise, but in all the wheel of life and all the areas, there's always a next level. Right. Because there's always a next level. Always. Financially, emotionally, relationship wise. You know, so
and when you
gotta keep playing, you gotta keep growing.
Yeah, when you open that there is a next level, like I would have never thought. I wanted the way Rich Dad Poor Dad came to my life was 5 years ago after I resigned, and I wanted to do real estate, but in a sense of like I wanted to invest. I didn't want to be a real estate agent. I never even thought of that. And I think when growth comes in that game, when you just accept, just allow the universe to bring that to you in a sense of like, okay, I think it's growth that I need to have, or you know what
focus
I mean?
On that.
Yes. I never knew I had these skills and talents. That's when all these things come, more ideas, more strategies, more things. So it's beautiful. Wow. And you become this person that you're like, dude, like I would have never, like I did envision myself that, but it's like, it's even more.
Right. Right. Welcome to our vibing session. Like, this isn't even.
Oh, I forgot we're doing a live.
I know. At some point, I kept looking like, oh, hi.
Literally, we're not talking.
Right. Just welcome to our vibing session. But no, it's again, I don't have to wait till I'm off camera to say it. I'm glad I came here. I'm glad we're having the discussion because you can't talk to too many people about these topics. Yeah. Because it doesn't make sense to everyone. And you have to find what it is that you're passionate about that's going to keep you going after the money's no longer a factor. Yeah. It's That's it. That's the easiest one. Game's the easiest one because it's really straightforward.
Yeah, it's just growth.
Yeah, that's it. That's incredible.
Yeah. It's growth.
So what are the last words or what are the last things you want to tell our viewers right now that you want them to know, especially in this situation, that what's going on, which I think is not a situation. I think it's an opportunity.
Right.
That's what I see it. Like, wow, now is the time to do what you always want to do. Now is the time to actually read that book, you know, everything you've been wanting to do because you don't have the time.
Right.
But anyways, what is the last words or things you want to, you know, before we leave this session, that you want the viewers to know? I know, the last word.
Bet on yourself.
Yeah.
You want to bet on yourself. That's one. The second thing is save your money so one day it can save you.
Yeah.
I got that from Kevin
like
Gates.
that.
That's a really, really good one.
That's a good one.
Cool.
But it's you just got to bet on yourself and just do it. You're right. You're forced into this situation if you were furloughed or you were fired or whatever. That idea that you've had, just literally do it. It's as simple as just doing it.
Yeah.
It sounds so simple, but it really is that easy.
It really is.
Just do it.
Yeah.
No one cares. Just do it.
I think when you do it, things start opening.
Yes.
Because we want things to open up, or the doors
No.
of heaven, the doors of, you know, of that opportunity, but it won't open because you haven't allowed it.
Right. Yeah. It's the harder you work, the luckier you become. So that's how it works.
Awesome. Before that would be the last, you know, before we end this, so I want you to actually, you guys have so many like books and mentors. I love it. I want also to share with the viewers because I want to read some of them.
Right.
What are some of the books that that you read, mentors that you think it's important for us to, you know, that I think will blow our mind?
Rich Dad Poor Dad for sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
100%.
That changes everything.
By
That was Robert Kiyosaki.
Kiyosaki.
Then there's Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker, and it basically talks about your financial
I remember that
blueprint.
one.
So if you, let's say you have a job where you're making $1,000 every 2 weeks, you ever notice that when you get a raise, the same amount of money that was in your bank account when you were making $1,000 every 2 weeks ends up being in your bank account, even if you're making $2,000 every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It's because your financial blueprint is set to having a certain amount. So when you start learning how to save and how to budget, you start to up your financial thermostat, and that's what that book teaches you.
Yeah.
So Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker, and The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. Those are three
I read
really
that
good
one,
books.
but I gotta listen to it again.
Yeah, it's a
because
really,
it's
really good
so
book.
like
Machiavellian. Yeah, it's a really, really good book.
yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. What are the last words you want to tell our viewers?
Yeah, nothing. I mean, I guess, you know, the thing that's helped me the most is just I accelerate processes by putting in the time and by learning from other people. Like a lot of the things I know I haven't even lived.
Right. Right.
Others have lived it for me.
That's
Right.
awesome.
That's a. Look, I'm telling you, man. That's the secret to it. That's.
Like literally, I approach things from a certain angle
Right.
because, you know, I already have a pathway of someone that went through what we already talked.
Right. Right. Right.
So my number one, you know, advice for everybody is you know, work on yourself harder than in your business.
Right.
You know, it's the best investment you can do. Read the books, go to the seminars.
Right.
I mean, do the work on yourself.
Well, here's my assessment
Grow first.
of you.
Yeah.
Briefly, you know when to tuck in your ego.
Yeah.
Because if you were just young, bravado, and just had a bunch of ego, you would have never followed the advice of other people that came before you because
Oh,
you just
100%.
know it all.
Yeah.
But because you were able to tuck in your ego, you were like, okay, I see where this person messed up. Let me learn from that.
Yeah.
And it allowed you to grow. And that's, again, that's more special than anything you've ever done, is the
Yeah.
fact that you know how to keep your ego in check to learn and to grow. That's
And
incredible.
that's hard.
Yeah, it is.
Always. You gotta be
Ego.
you gotta be conscious to always learn in the little details. Like
Right.
when I'm around people that are successful,
Right,
I'm not only talking to them, I'm analyzing them.
right,
And I'm like, okay, this is how he acts.
right,
This is how he walks.
right.
This is how he talks.
Everything.
Details.
Right,
Because it's the details.
right,
So I mean, I guess that'd be my number one tip. That for me, that's been personal growth.
Right.
I've invested I don't know how many thousands of dollars in seminars and books and,
Right.
and everything because, I mean, the more valuable you become, the more value you're going to be able to provide
Right.
in the marketplace or whatever you want to call it. So that would be the main thing. Things that you can do, actionable steps like books, apart from the ones that, you know, we discussed. Think and Grow Rich,
right,
Game Changer,
right.
and then there's
Neil, say it. Neil, what's his name?
Napoleon.
Napoleon Hill.
Napoleon Hill.
Napoleon. Oh, that one is a game changer. That one helped me a lot. And then there's a thing that right now is in promotion from Uncle G, Grant Cardone, which is his courses of selling.
Right,
It's like $60 a month right now.
University? Grant University?
Yeah, Cardone U.
right.
get that. I mean,
Right.
it's good. I'm telling you.
And he's not being paid by Grant Cardone. It's not a
No.
promotion, but it's true. He's giving out free game. That's real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, he's getting. I think it was $60 or $100 a month, something like that.
But it's worth it.
100. I mean, if you learn how to sell, you're never gonna be worried about money.
Right. Right. Everybody
They can
sells
drop you
is a
wherever
bad
you
thing,
want.
and you're good.
You're good.
You're good.
So learn how to sell. Develop that skill.
Right.
That one is
Therapy
good.
Soul, they have. That one's the one you're saying?
Yeah, no, but like no, Cardone U. It's like at the university
Yeah,
where he
okay.
has all the videos. He goes step by step from the mindset to everything. It's so good because you actually hear it,
Right.
and it's also in video if you wanted to take notes. But I listen to it when I'm in the morning in the gym, whatever.
Right.
I listen to a lot of podcasts.
Right.
A lot of podcasts. I love it.
Yeah, of course.
A lot
me
of
too.
podcasts. That would be it. Thank you, Gigi, for inviting us.
Yes.
Yes.
No, thank you guys for coming.
Thanks for putting it
I
together.
love
Yeah, never
that
expected
energy.
this. It was amazing. Yeah.
I'm telling you, it was the universe.
It
I wanted
was.
it to be
Yeah.
like that.
I agree.
It was
Jeez.
such a great time. Thank you so much, guys, for coming. We're definitely gonna do it again because
Yes.
I want to talk a little bit more in depth of just what we're doing now. Because we talked about our story, we talked about what struggles, what things change. Because I know some of you guys are probably going through the same thing. And look, we went through it.
Right.
And we're still learning. There's still things that we're going through now, and that it's helping us grow.
Right.
So one thing that I wanna, last thing that I wanna say is a little bit what you touched. Somebody told me, in 2015 when I worked for her. It was a brokerage, and it was so hard for me to kind of I didn't want to go back to the corporate world, but I was helping her. It wasn't like corporate world. It was just just her office manager, and she said, Gigi, you got to learn how to be a student, because it was so tough when I was here. I got my own thing, and she's like, you got to learn how to be a student. So that always resonates in my mind when like you said, he's very humble, and that's what I got from you.
Yeah.
I'm like, you have so much wisdom. How old are you? That's what the first
Right.
thing I asked him. I'm like, wow, you're so young, and you're just so, the way you carry yourself, and it's very nice,
Right.
energy.
Yeah.
It's very nice. So,
No, we're connected definitely.
so
We all come from one
we're all
energy,
one.
one
Yeah,
tribe.
that's what we said. We're one tribe. We're
That's
one
the thing.
energy. And that's the beauty of it. We're doing different things. We're from different cultures. That's why I always like to ask where you're from. But we're just one tribe. We're entrepreneurs.
Right.
So that's what resonated to me. So and that's something that I tell people, learn to be a student. Bringing that little ego down. It's hard for me too.
Right.
I know this, I know that.
Right.
But just learning to be a student, and also what you said, investing. I think a lot of people, oh, but he's already rich, he's already why do I want to buy his stuff? And it hit me when I went to 10X, and I'm like, okay, I had somebody that was going to share that the Grant Cardone University with me, and I said, you know what, I'm going to get it, because two things. One, I need to, and he said it a lot of times, and it was amazing. I'm like, it hit me. And all the guests that were there were saying the same thing. You gotta educate yourself. You gotta invest. So if I want people to invest in my business, I gotta do the same thing too.
Yeah.
And also that energy that I'm big in that, where if I feel like, no, this guy has this money, why do I want to buy this?
Right.
And it was literally at 50. Well, at that point it was like $60. It was special, because if you went to the seminar, it was a special price.
Right.
Than what it is, and that's one thing that I learned. So see it in a different mindset. When you are trying to grow and go to that next level, you gotta educate yourself. You gotta allow to invest in another person in that business if you want them also to invest in you. That's what I learned.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So thank you guys again for tuning in at the Love, Money, and Game. We got a lot
Yeah, this was a fun one.
from this. I'm definitely gonna go ahead and listen to this again, because I'm gonna get a lot more out of it. So it's beautiful. Thank you guys again for coming.
Thank you.
Of course. Thank you for
Appreciate
having
it.
us.
It's a beautiful Saturday.
It
We're
is.
gonna do this at the lake.
Oh no! Imagine an hour and a half in the lake. I'll be like,
We're gonna melt.
Yeah, it's not gonna happen.
Next time, stay tuned. The show's gonna be at the lake.
yeah,